Stephen, the polls. 2 polls came out today. They agree on one thing. Labor hasn't got much bounce from the budget. Newspoll found that despite the tax cut and electricity rebate, only 27% of voters thought they'd be better off. And both polls showed voters worried about, the budget would be inflationary. But here's the big difference. The Newspoll showed Labor's primary vote at 34%. Add preference of the Greens and others, it still has Labor ahead of the Liberals, 52% to 48%. But the Resolve poll shows Labor's primary vote down to now a disastrous 29%. Thing is, can we actually believe that?
Well, look, I think, firstly, to your point about a bounce on the budget, it's been many years since I've seen anybody's budget, whether it was an Abbott budget, a Turnbull budget, a Morrison budget, or any of the Albo, Jim Chalmers budgets, have shown any bounce at all. The media management of budgets now is so choreographed, so all the big issues, all the teasers are all put out in the weeks or two before. And so budget night, it's not a damp squib. It sets out a few things, but it doesn't really, the one big bang of announcement that people could go, right, okay. It's just been leaked for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks before. So I think the days when a big bang bump from the budget, they're pretty much gone just due to social media and the change in the media environment. So that's the first point. To the second point, I think you're dead right. I don't believe the 34. I don't believe the 29. I put us somewhere probably 31 or 32, which means, a 31-32 primary vote is still a hard place to win a majority government from. I'm sure the Labor hardheads are looking at these polls going, they're a chance of minority government, they're a chance of majority government, and it'll come down to a seat-by-seat contest. That's the thing we keep forgetting. The Teals, there's still nothing there to say Peter Dutton's going to get close to being Prime Minister after the next election, the latest April, May next year. Nothing in these polls says Peter Dutton's going to be the Prime Minister. So your real alternatives are between minority Labor government or majority Labor government.
But Michael Kroger, the other thing about that is whether I can't disagree much with what Steve just said, but think of this: Labor, the Workers' Party, getting less than a third, by Steve's own calculation too, less than a third of the primary votes of the Australian public.
Yeah, that's right. And if you look at the Resolve poll of 29% primary vote, and I agree with Steve, I think it's probably a bit higher than that. If you dissect that, you click on it, you can see what percentage of that are women and what percentage are men. Of that 29, 27% of women voting for Labor, 31% of men. Labor have a woman problem. Women are not voting Labor. They're not indicating they're going to vote Labor. And that's to do with what I call internal security issues. And they're all the things that you can think of. But the salient thing about the Resolve poll is 1 year ago, Labor's primary vote in the Resolve poll was 41%. It's now 29%. So this guy's not headed for re-election.
Well,
in his own right. He's headed for re-election. If he is re-elected, he's headed for re-election with the support of the independents in a minority government, if he gets that far.
Yeah, well,
and that undoubtedly includes him having an agreement with the Greens, Andrew.